Good afternoon, it's Dean here, founder of Maverick, and I am with...
The head of content, Luke 2.
So today we're going to be talking about... Luke?
Talking about me personally again.
Yeah,
we love it. Today we're going to be talking about, well, essentially it's our transition from live events to the webinars that you see today, and basically our really fast turnaround journey about that.
Yeah, and everybody's had to do this, and I know we've been zoomed out of all of this stuff and talking about, you know, Zoom and Google Meets and WebEx and Skype and God knows what else.
YouTube Lives, Facebook Lives.
But we've had to make this adjustment. I actually struggle with the adjustment, but we did it pretty quick. And maybe, how did you find the adjustment? Do you think that you're working better, working remotely? One of the things, and we'll talk about kind of lives and virtual events and live events in a second, but one of the things that really bugged me is when you all work together in a big office and there was something that you needed to sort out, you could just go to the person and kind of just ask the question.
Yeah. Like sometimes you'd get a go away, I'm busy, but it would mainly be sorted right there and then.
Yeah, and now, because we've got some people in the office, some people are working here, some people are working at home, and...
all four corners of the world, really, especially in the office as well as all four corners of the office.
Yeah, and then you have this scenario, I just need a quick answer to something. So you pick up the phone, their phone's on silent, so you don't reach them, then they ring you back and you're doing something else.
Having another call, or even worse, outside, maybe like walking the dog or something. It's like, oh, I can answer it, but in the meantime, you can just share everything going on in the background.
Yeah.
And it's a simple question usually, isn't it? It's just, have you sent a client X?
Yeah. So the simple stuff, the quick answers, I found it's actually a lot harder, albeit some of the other stuff in terms of people just getting on with what they need to do, I actually thought that would be a bigger problem than it was. So I guess the frustration is the comms.
Yeah, it's making sure everyone, because we have a regular meeting every morning.
Yeah.
Where we go through what needs to be done throughout the day, how everyone's doing, because obviously we need to make sure everyone's, you know, kicking and going strong. But it's hard, especially when a lot of people don't have the same equipment, in a sense, because we've provided all the computers that they had at their desks.
Yeah.
But it's still things like microphones and like webcams and stuff, and it's just solely different not seeing someone face to face.
Yeah.
So you can't really grasp, because people will say, oh yeah, everything's fine, carry on normal, but it might not be that way if you was in person.
And it's difficult to gauge whether everybody's on the same page as well. Because, you know, in a larger group, people don't want to say things. It's weird how people don't want to talk virtually in front of a large group of people.
Yeah, it's because we've had meetings where it's the entire company essentially, and everyone would have their say. But when it comes to those some of those morning meetings, it's literally just like the microphones are off and they're just listening.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just I can't really talk right now because I've got a dog barking in the background, which is my...
the best one is we have a dog, Maverick. Long story, we didn't name the dog after the company. We rescued him and he's called Maverick. But when we're on calls in the morning and when Luke's not in the office, his dog's in the background. So he'll come off mic and... what's your dog called again?
Elsie.
Elsie will bark and set Maverick off barking, and then they're both barking at each other in the middle of our work.
They have their own team meeting.
Yeah, they'll have their own team. But I tell you one of the things I found difficult, and I don't know if you do any kind, or did any kind of in-person events. We did in 2019 maybe 100 in-person events all around the country. And when I was speaking at these events, and some of them would be like 20, 30 people, and some we had like 150 people. And I think there was one event we did last year, and I had like 500 people in it. And when you're talking to a crowd of people, you see the reactions on people's faces.
Yeah.
And so you can adjust what you're doing to go, if you see like blank faces, you go, are they getting it?
You can tell what's working, you can tell what isn't working. You can gauge if if they're engaged with you as well.
Yeah.
Because if they're just sat down on their phones looking down, you're like, okay, I haven't got their attention. I need to do something bigger, or I need to, make a point more clearer.
Yeah.
But if it's just numbers, then it can be hard to gauge. So if you do have any questions, or if you're, if you engage with someone online, it's a good way essentially of keeping them motivated and going. But you need to find your own motivations when you're online with your crowd. You can't just assume that everyone's on the same page, or you can't just get really insecure and thinking, oh, I'm talking too fast, no one's getting this, because you're basically making up your own. You're basically making up your own reactions to your own event while you're in the event.
Yeah, and I found this when we're doing our Tuesday night live trainings. We do, if you don't know, we do free live training on YouTube on our MAVERRIK channel every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. When I'm doing them, obviously I'm sat, I get to interact with you a little bit here.
Yeah.
But on the YouTube lives, I'm literally staring down the barrel of a camera, just talking. And I always believe if you're going to do webinars or events like that, you need to do things to encourage people to actually respond.
Yeah.
One, so that it keeps their level of engagement with what you're doing, but also it helps you understand that you're not just talking to a camera.
Yeah, I think you have a trick, don't you, where you say, oh, to everyone, if you're here, type out this phrase, or tell me you're here and say hello.
Yeah.
Just at the start, just to get people understanding that this is a back and forth thing. It's a training session.
Yeah, because otherwise you end up where you're doing a Netflix broadcast, and then people can check out and don't feel
you
don't feel part of it.
You don't want to be background noise, do you?
No.
You want to be a interactive guide, essentially.
So I am, and I've said this a few times and been wrong, but I am actually looking forward to this vaccine rolling out and being able to go back to in-person events and being able to interact with people and talk with different people, not just because, for the sake of it. I think there's something within us that we need that. And whilst virtual events, and I do enough of them, I did, how many virtual events did I do this week? 5 or 6 virtual events this week, not counting,
including these.
That's not counting Zoom calls and this stuff. That's just the training. And I'm like, that's well and good. And if you've done like a webinar for say an hour, people think, oh, you just sat at your computer. You're absolutely exhausted afterwards because all this stuff's going through your head.
Yeah, because you are switched on. It isn't just you just chatting to someone through a computer, because you're still presenting, you're still putting all your content together, you're still delivering that content and answering questions.
And all the way through, I'm gonna say something now, and it might be light relief to other people, and let me know if you've ever experienced this. All the way through you're talking, it doesn't matter how many times you do a talk or you're practiced, you come away from the end of it and going, did I give people enough value? And you're never quite sure. And I spoke to Terry, and I think, is Terry on next week with you?
I got wrote it down.
Yeah, so I think Terry's coming on next week, and he does some presentations every week as well. And he said, when he comes off, he feels like, did I do enough? Was that enough? Did I give people enough value? And I think for anybody who's watching this and going, I'm doing webinars or any kind of training or whatever virtually, where you're delivering information or trying to help people learn something, you kind of feel afterwards of, did I do enough? And the downside of virtual, I feel, is that when an event ends, you get a reaction from the audience.
Yeah, you're getting applause, or you'll get people come. You say, "Oh, if anyone's got any questions, you've got to be at the end." And usually, you've had like rooms of like 30 or 40 people at the end, even though the training's finished, just to ask you questions or just to say, give you some feedback. Yeah. So you get that back and forth, like, "Oh, thank you for coming down. I'm having trouble with this or this." Yeah. People don't feel that comfortable on like a webinar, I guess, because when you say something or type it down, it's always there. Yeah. So you can't just do an offhand question. You don't want the whole chat room knowing your question. Yeah. So.
And the other thing I found, and maybe this will help some people who are doing webinars, because maybe they're, or any kind of virtual event, is keeping the audience to the end is not something that is, let's say you're doing a webinar. Typically, any webinar you run, you will see whatever attendance comes in. I think the average is somewhere between 22 and 38% show up rate to a webinar. And the only way to increase that is if you do reminder emails and things to make sure people don't forget. So let's say you've done all that and you get your people showing up. Basically, your job as part of the webinar is actually to get people to stay engaged and stay to the end. And it's, you know, in a physical event, you just deliver the information and people are polite that they'll just sit there till the end, most of them. Unless you really upset somebody, they will sit there and go, this is boring, or I'm not interested.
It's like a movie or a video or a long video. Like you'll see, if you ever put out any form of content out there, you'll see like there's big drop-off rates depending on where you are.
Yeah.
And from there you can kind of gauge where people aren't well, it's when they click off, essentially.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you said something I didn't resonate with, or you're starting to get boring now. So you can kind of tailor it from that, in a sense.
Yeah. And one of the things that we've really worked on, and maybe if there's people interested, just email us and we'll share some, I think we've got a video on it, about how to hold people's attention all the way through a webinar or live event, so that you don't get this huge drop-off that probably isn't about you, actually, to be fair. It's just the way the kind of online world works, that we just go,
yeah,
if
people
it doesn't
drop in, people can drop out. It depends on where they are. You don't know what they're doing as well. They could just like join and end up having to go away for whatever reason.
But when we kind of implemented this process of keeping people engaged, it's like a deliberate thing you have to do in the conversation. When you do that, what you find is you can actually retain about 90% of your audience all the way through, which is huge considering for most people, they don't even retain like 30% of their audience all the way through.
Quite a number.
So it's a bit different when you do like group calls and you can see everybody's faces, but it's really easy. It's so convenient to be able to just go, oh, I'm done now, I'm out.
Thanks, bye.
And to confess, I've done that on some things as well. So maybe if you've had any challenges with retaining audiences, maybe you've had challenges getting an audience to a webinar. Maybe you've been thinking, we really want to do a webinar, we've got value to do, and we're stuck. If you want to message us and say, hey, show us how you do it, we could put something together and put it in one of these. Or
always happy to help with that. I mean, it's what we do. You can see through our training, if you enjoy listening to our training, or if you've been to one of our courses and it's helped you and you're like, okay, this is good, how can I take what I know and put it online? You know, we've done that before, we can help do that again.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to, and I said this before but I didn't quite finish it, I'm looking forward to, fingers crossed, have been wrong before, that the government is right and early March we'll be able to do in-person, I mean we can do in-person events now.
People will be more comfortable, I'd say, if the vaccine's rolled out and we've got more of a,
well,
like I said, there's new normal. We'll bring back the old normal when we didn't have any of what's going on.
I mean, we know right now we can do an event and it's going to be safe, socially distanced, all that kind of stuff, because everybody's going to sit down. It's not like we're mingling kind of thing. But the problem is the perception of doing an event right now.
Yeah, the more the risk is limited, I'd say the more people are willing to then go out and go to an event.
So I'm kind of like, the vaccine will be rolled out through December and January. The cases will start to settle down. We can run events now, but it's just too risky. The reputational risk of something happening at your event is just too big. So I'm kind of hoping we get to say late February, we can do events again, socially distant, the vaccine's rolling out, and we can keep our online and go in person as well. I could be wrong.
But fingers crossed, I'm fingers crossed with you right there, because then we can have...
You didn't finger cross with me there, you just showed me a middle finger.
I went like that. Oh, it depends on where it goes over.
Yeah.
You've also got a hello from Anglia.
Anglia? Oh yes. Amy's question from the other day. Do you remember that question that we missed on?
It was, I believe it was the balance between passive and aggressive marketing.
Oh yeah. I highly recommend, I think it was Amy that said this on Wednesday, about what's the balance between passive and aggressive marketing. And in most of our trainings, I talk about the 3% of active buyers and the 97% of people who are either kind of curious or not really interested. And there was a really interesting study that was done a few years ago by Les Binnett and Peter Fielding. It's called The Long and Short of It. Go Google it. It's the most insightful piece of information on marketing you'll ever read. And basically what they discovered is that the aggressive marketing, getting sales now, sales activation as they call it, we need to find leads, we need to generate sales, that kind of immediate stuff, actually over the long term doesn't add any long-term value to the business. So if we had a call center upstairs and they were ringing people up saying, hey, do you want to buy our training course?
Yeah.
In that month that it happened, it would have an effect and it would help raise revenue. But then next month you have to do it again and again and again and again. There's no residual benefit from it.
We see the same works with your content as well. If every content piece is a sales piece, a post might work in the first time, but if you're always posting that sales post for weeks on end, it's not going to have the same result.
Yeah. So what they found in this study was that if you could do a little bit of the sales stuff to keep yourself going, and then you did what Amy said, passive or brand or getting you known for a particular thing out there.
Yeah. That's the value.
Yeah. Within 6 to 9 months, actually, that brand work, the right brand work, obviously, actually overtakes any efforts that the short term can do. But what most small businesses do is they focus in on now.
Yeah, on the ads, the adverts, the posts.
Facebook ads to get clicks, to get downloads, to get conversions. You see this on Facebook all the time. People going, come into my funnel, you'll buy. But actually, the long game is, can you get your business known for solving a particular problem for a group of customers? Any other comments or questions? Or are we pretty quiet on a Friday? Is everybody checked out?
Everyone's checked out. I noticed this whenever I'm walking sometimes to the office. On a Thursday and a Friday, I think everyone's probably doing the part-time furlough. Yeah. So that's when most people are probably at home because the roads are just empty.
Yeah, long weekends.
Yeah. We hope you have a great long weekend.
Yes. That was kind of out of nowhere.
I was going to lead you into a. I hope you have a great long weekend. This has been Maverick Live.
Oh, like shut up. So if you're watching this, thank you for watching. Next week we've got some guests, so I won't be around for a bit, probably because you're sick of me. So you've got Luke. So and some of our other guests, and I also shared on my social media that if you would like to dial in at some point or be a guest in a socially distant way, of course, not like right on top.
You don't even need to be in the office. We literally have a link.
A live link.
We have a live link essentially from our equipment.
Yeah, so we would love to have guests on, share about your experience in business, how you generate your business, how you're planning to grow your business. That would be cool because other people can learn. We can all learn something from each other. But I'm going to shut up now. So it's, how are we going to sign up? We need to develop like a sign-off thing.
Sign off.
But thank you so much for watching this week. Bear with us as we improve and tweak and adjust. I'm Dean Seddon, founder of Maverick. Thank you for watching. And he is...
Luke 2, head of content for Maverick.